So take a moment to close your eyes as you listen to me. And as you listen to me talking in the background, so you can begin to comfortably drift inside your mind. And while you drift inside your mind, you can follow along to my words. And as you follow along to my words, sometimes it can seem like my words just seem to fade away and disappear. Other times, certain words may stand out to you, almost like those words resonate with you somehow. And as you listen along and begin to relax, you don't have to know how you're going to relax, because that relaxation can happen all by itself. And while you begin to relax comfortably and deeply, so my voice can go with you, and my voice can go with you through this experience, perhaps taking on the form of other people, perhaps taking on the form of the sound of the wind, taking on many different forms, depending on what you're thinking about at the time. And you can continue to drift comfortably and deeply. And so while you increase your responsivity to the sound of my voice, to the words that I use, so some relaxation can begin to pass into the top of your head. And that relaxation can flow gently from the top of your head, down around your ears and around your face, very slowly and gently down your neck, down into your shoulders, and continuing comfortably down your arms. And I don't know whether the relaxation will travel faster down the left arm or the right arm, or whether it'll travel down both arms at the same speed. That's it. And as that relaxation calmly and comfortably spreads through your body, I don't know whether you'll relax deeper with each out-breath or each in-breath, perhaps breathing out any tension and breathing in relaxation. As you go deeper and deeper and more comfortable inside, and that relaxation can spread down from the shoulders, down through your body, down to your waist, down through your waist into your legs, and can pass all the way down through your legs, all the way down to your feet. That's it. And then as your body continues to relax, so your mind can begin to relax as well. You can begin to imagine yourself stood at the top of a garden, looking down from the top of the garden. And you can see some steps in front of you leading down to the rest of the garden. And you can see the most beautiful garden down there, the most beautiful flowers, some bees and butterflies and birds, the sounds of birds singing in the trees and the bushes. The rustling of leaves as the wind blows a breeze. Noticing different colours, movement, what colour the sky is, and the feeling of each footstep as you walk down into the garden, going deeper with each step that you take. And as you walk around the garden, so you go deeper and deeper into the experience. And you have a sense of planting some tomato plants. And you sit in a comfortable chair, the most comfortable chair you can imagine. And almost like time-lapse photography, it's like the garden evolves around you. And you watch those tomato plants trying to grow. And you see them growing a little bit, and they were planted in the flower bed. They're planted in that soil, but they've only grown a little bit. And then they wither. And so you wonder what's going on, because you're a keen gardener. And so you wonder, what was wrong with the flower bed? And so you try to grow some more, and you make sure they're well watered and they're well planted. And again you sit back and relax and watch them grow. And again they grow a little bit before withering and die. And this makes you more curious because you know that you know what you're doing. But for some reason, there must be something wrong with the flower bed, because the tomato plants seem to just grow up a little bit and then wither and die. So you dig up the entire flower bed, and you replace it with the same kind of parts, but all fresh and new. You don't necessarily know exactly what was wrong. Maybe the soil was too acidic or too alkaline. Maybe there was something else. Maybe being near the ocean has led to some salt somehow getting too absorbed into the soil. Who knows? All you know is what the soil should be like. So you dig up all the soil in the flower bed, and you replace it with fresh soil, with the soil you know needs to be there. So that the roots grow well, so the roots can take hold and develop, so the roots can grow healthy and strong, rather than withering and being bad like the old roots. And so once you've replaced the soil, you replant the tomato plants and relax back in that chair again. And as you relax back in that chair, you watch those plants grow, and you notice how this time they grow big and strong, tall and beautiful. And you know that you'd made those changes in that flower bed. You'd made changes to help the roots grow strong, to help the flowers grow strong, to help the tomato plants become what they should be. And you feel a sense of satisfaction. And you carry on walking around your garden. And as you walk around the garden, stopping and smelling some roses, and stopping and smelling other plants, you can find a gate at the end of your garden that leads out onto a beautiful beach. And as you walk through the gate and out onto the beach, so you can notice the sound of the waves lapping on the shore, the sound of each footstep that you take. And you know that as you go through this experience, you're making changes on a deep and unconscious level, changes to the root cause of the problem. Changes to stress and anxiety in the same way that once the stress and anxiety on the roots of the tomato plant was removed, so the tomato plant grew strong. And consciously, you don't have to know exactly what the root cause was, because there was a time before the problem where the problem didn't exist, where you could sleep perfectly fine and sound. And then there was a time when suddenly there was a problem. And you don't necessarily have to know consciously exactly what it was about that time that led to the problem, because unconsciously you can know that, and you can know that unconsciously, and you can respond unconsciously. And you can make those changes unconsciously to those issues that happened back then. And so as you walk along the beach, you can find a bench, and you can sit down on the bench, relax yourself down on the bench as you gaze out over the sea, listening to the sea rolling in, noticing birds flying in the sky, listening to the sound of my voice in the background. Just taking in the atmosphere. And as you do that, you can begin to make some deep and unconscious changes. You can have a sense in your mind of drifting back in your mind to the very first night where you didn't sleep effectively. To the very first night that you had insomnia. And then you can drift back slightly earlier. Perhaps a week earlier, maybe 2 weeks earlier. And just like those stories where you read a chapter and at the end of the chapter it gives you some options and says if you choose option A, go to this page. If you choose option B, go to this page. If you choose option C, go to this page. And one of those options is the option you chose in the past before. And so this time round you can have a sense of reaching a critical junction in the run-up to that first insomnia night. And at that critical junction, you can choose a different option and then experience how things go having chosen a different option. You can experience how events go and what that first night of sleep is like. And if that night of sleep involves insomnia, you can go back to that critical junction again and choose another option, and another option, and another option, until you've chosen the option, chosen the behaviour and the decisions that you have to make, so that you comfortably sleep that night, and every future night. You know, one of the largest causes of insomnia is anxiety, is high levels of emotional arousal. So how the mind works is that we go through the day, and every time we think about something, it fires off a specific brainwave pattern. And then we continue through the day, and every 90 minutes or so we drift into a daydream, and that closes some of those patterns. Or we close the patterns by completing them. So if you decide I'd quite like a cup of tea, and then you don't get round to having one, that pattern's not completed. But if you think I'd quite like a cup of tea, and then you go and put the kettle on and make yourself a cup of tea, and then have that cup of tea, you've completed the pattern. If you get into an argument with a loved one that's highly emotional and highly charged, and the argument gets completed and resolved, then that pattern is completed and resolved, and you'll sleep soundly. If on the other hand you get into a big argument with your partner, and it's highly emotional, and then you walk out of the room, or they walk out of the room, or something happens that stops that situation being resolved, then because it's not resolved, you end up dreaming about it at night. And if too many emotionally arousing things happen like that, then the brain overdreams. Brain has too much to close. It's like having a computer and opening one file and then another file and another file and another and another and another and another and another, to the point where the computer can't cope with so much being open, that when it tries to auto-save every single one of those open files, it crashes, whereas it has no problem auto-saving your one Word document that's open, or even 2 or 3 Word documents that are open. It can auto-save them fine. But it struggles with 100 Word documents that it's trying to auto-save, and so it is with the mind and with the brain, that at night it tries to auto-save. It tries to close down and resolve each pattern. So in the same way that you don't want to close a Word document until you've completed it, you don't want to close that Word document until you've completed it. So the brain doesn't want to close the document to do with an argument, or to do with some worry or some anxiety thinking you had during the day, until it has a solution. So while you're asleep, you dream a solution, and that solution will be metaphorical. So if you got really angry with someone during the day, you might dream about a metaphor of that during the night that includes having a resolution. Like someone could want to hit someone during the day, but obviously they don't do that. And then they might dream about hitting a football during the night, and that closes the pattern. But too many patterns to close means that you end up waking up early, because you need the right balance of dreaming sleep and deep slow wave sleep, which is the healing recuperative sleep where your body heals itself. Where your body heals itself physically, where bones grow, where the immune system recharges. So if you don't get that deep slow wave sleep, you make yourself susceptible to illnesses and to feeling run down. And you also wake up exhausted, because dreaming sleep is as energy intense as being wide awake. So you need the slow wave deep sleep to help you to relax comfortably and wake feeling refreshed. And so if you overdream, your brain wakes you to stop you dreaming. And some people resort to other substances as a way of attempting to fall asleep comfortably. But all those substances, like alcohol do, is they help you fall asleep comfortably. But they suppress deep sleep, which means that if someone has alcohol to get to sleep, they can fall asleep fine, but they don't get deep sleep. They have really, really shallow sleep, and they don't go into that slow wave sleep, so their body doesn't repair itself. And so they may still have excessive dreaming and wake up exhausted. And the more that goes on, the more chance there is that someone starts to feel anxiety. So what you want is to be able to drift comfortably asleep without needing anything else, and to get the right balance of deep sleep and dreaming sleep. And when you have that right balance, you awaken feeling refreshed. And you know you can be so absorbed in sleep that you lose all awareness of the world around you. And you enjoy being so absorbed in the sleep that unless there's an emergency, nothing in the real world distracts you. And you can keep that in mind. You can always keep that in mind. And so, as you continue listening to me, you can relax and have some inner therapy going on for you. And that inner therapy can be working on the root causes, working on making the soil just right and healing those roots, and helping you grow and develop from that point. Where different decisions are made this time round. And you experience comfortable sleep, where in the past was insomnia. And in your mind's eye, you can imagine that first night where you had insomnia. You can imagine that night and waking up the next morning having slept soundly. So you can imagine that night falling asleep at the time you were supposed to, and then waking the next morning feeling refreshed and revitalized, and imagine how the day goes differently because of it. And you can pick some other times where you had insomnia and imagine them playing out, where this time round you fall asleep comfortably when you expect to. And you sleep soundly through the night, and you awaken feeling refreshed and comfortable. That's it. And you can run through a number of memories like that. That's it. Reprogramming those memories as memories of successful night's sleep, so that you know what it feels like. And I know that you know what it feels like, because I know that you spent years sleeping soundly prior to that first insomnia experience. That's it. And you know there's something interesting that can happen. And when it happens, I don't know whether you'll find it interesting or not. And that is that sounds around you that are just familiar sounds can be comforting, can help you be aware that there's a reality out there, a reality you love and trust. And so with that awareness, you can let go and drift inside, trusting that you can go as deep as you want asleep. Because there's a security of the reality out there. So you don't have to pay any attention to the reality out there. You can just drift deeper and more soundly asleep. And as you continue to drift in a reverie, so you can imagine the future. You can imagine going on holiday, enjoying the holiday, You don't think about sleep at all. It just gets to bedtime, you say goodnight, you roll over, and you're out like a light. And I don't know how quick you'll go out like a light, whether it'll be as fast as 3, 2, 1. That's it. Or whether you'll go out like a light as your head hits the pillow, or whether it'll be with 2 or 3 breaths. And so you can have a reverie of the future, where you just rest your head and in an appropriate length of time, you find yourself drifting asleep, having not thought at all about whether you may or may not fall asleep. That doesn't even cross your mind, but instead just drifting asleep comfortably. And then waking, feeling refreshed in the morning, having slept soundly through the night, unaware of anything around you while you slept, knowing on a very deep unconscious level you're monitoring the external environment for any threats, which is natural and normal, which allows you to be able to let go and sleep, because a part of you is always monitoring for threats, so it doesn't have to be aware of anything else. It doesn't have to be aware of other sounds. You can just let go and sleep. And you can imagine being on a few different holidays where you get to the end of the day and you feel tired and you go to bed, and then you awaken perhaps 6 or 8 hours, or maybe even 9 or 10 hours later. Whatever is right for you, you awaken feeling refreshed, revitalized, knowing that you have so much trust for your unconscious, that you recognize that it's monitoring things for your safety so that you don't have to, so that you can just fall asleep soundly and comfortably, unaware of anything around you for the entire night. Someone could jump up and down on the bed next to you, and because it's not a risk or a threat, you can be unaware and sleep soundly for the entire night. And you can learn as you listen to this, on a deep and unconscious level, on a level that's the same as that level that causes your breathing and your cells to divide and repair, and your heart to keep beating, on that level of automatic responses. That's it. And you can listen to this as often as you want. And I don't know how quickly change will occur for you, whether change will occur after 1 listening, or 2 listenings, or perhaps 4 or 5 times of listening to this, for change to occur, for you to discover yourself not even thinking about sleep, just in a routine where when you're tired you go to bed, and when you're refreshed you wake up, or you wake up because an alarm goes off. But other than that, you sleep soundly through the night. And you don't need to learn a new pattern of sleep. You just need to remember the old pattern of sleep, That time before any problem developed, where you slept soundly through the night, in the same way that you can now take some time to drift deeper and deeper, and as you do, you can fall asleep comfortably, unless you need to be awake, in which case you can allow yourself to gently rouse up and awaken. But if you don't need to awaken, just fall asleep soundly and comfortably and relax.